Christian is involved in, like I said before, State of the Map, which is slightly different from the rest of the conferences here, in that most of the other people on the panel are permanently involved in the conference from year to year. State of the Map is slightly different. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, State of the Map moves around from year to year, and as a result, it tends to have a large local contingent to the organising committee. It also benefits from having a very, I suppose, niche market in terms of sponsors, in that it's essentially the same sponsors every year. You've got the likes of CloudMate and so on. And this makes it easier in some respects, but in terms of actually doing the organising, it makes it much, much harder in that you've got some people local to the location, some people who might be elsewhere, possibly on different continents. So, thank you. And yeah,
Okay, cool. So myself on SkyCon, thankfully we're a computer society for a university, and so we get cash thrown at us. For our first conference, the university gave us in the region of about 18,000 to 20,000 euros, and they said, just go wild, just host something. So we said, yeah, perfect. Let's fly 30 people from around the world to our university, and let's host something with that. So if you're involved at all in a university, probe as much as possible for cash, because there are pockets of cash in universities that just get wasted year on year. They get filtered out. In our specific example, it was a sports and arts fund. So this was a fund for the arts. Then technically, because we're a society, we support the arts with conferences. So if you can, poke around and try and find pools of cash in a university or other large organization. Okay, so moving on. How do you get speakers? I know some of you guys have had some very interesting speakers at your conferences. We had Randall Munro from XKCD as our keynote this year. You had Adam Savage.
We got Adam Savage purely by luck. There was a listener, a reader in Australia who happened to run into him, I believe, where he lived, and he suggested that he go to Hope. And Adam was open to the idea. And this was amazing because Adam was probably one of our most widely anticipated speakers. Usually we pay keynotes, we pay their travel expenses and all that kind of thing, but Adam didn't want anything. He lived well, he was in Brooklyn, he was local to start with, and he had been in town for that weekend, so it was just a wonderful surprise that we just had this guy who was a tremendous draw. But lots of times we approach people. Getting Jello Biafra in 2000 for H2K was an example of how we sometimes try to reach outside the confines of the hacker community and try to bring people in that have a peripheral interest in what we do, and they're as interested in us as we wind up being interested in them. And it's great to see people from Negative Land and the Yes Men and people like Jello coming to our conferences and kind of trading their countercultural way of doing things with our amazing ingenuity and creativity with technology. But we have various tricks. We like to get people who get what 2600 is, who get what hackers are all about. And also when you offer to pay people's travel expenses and they already live in New York, well, that's a subway ride, so it works out great for everybody. But basically, we try and reach out around the world and find interesting people. But most of our speakers, with the exception of the keynotes, come on their own dime, and they plan things out from whatever continent they happen to be traveling from. And it works out well because they get as much out of it as everybody gets from them, as hearing them speak. Because they wind up hearing other people speak as well. I mean, one of the best things I remember was seeing Jello Biafra being fascinated by Johannes from Austria's vinyl collection of corporate anthems. Little things like that. You find people have the same interest as you, but they're from a completely different part of the world, and you wind up sharing all kinds of information and having these bonds that remain unbroken. Everyone from the speaker that attracts maybe 10 people in the unscheduled track to the keynote speaker who attracts thousands, they all get this. They all benefit from it, and that's what I like to think of Hope as a way that the famous people and the newbies get together and benefit from each other's presence.
No, absolutely. The same with our own. We had a track that had a speaker from the demo scene. And we also had a speaker from Microsoft, Microsoft's Xbox XNA thing. And here's Travis coming in now. So yeah, the person who was working on the demo scene stuff knew everything about slimming code down, about keeping stuff small, and the guy in Microsoft was really interested in this because it meant they could fit more content onto a DVD to sell. So you see these really strange interactions between people who typically wouldn't meet and wouldn't chat at the likes of conferences like this. Do you want to move on to interesting speakers and how you source them at HAX events?
Well, we've traditionally been big enough that we just do a call for papers and then people come to us. So we don't have to really run around and get speakers, with some exceptions. We've prodded people that we know that could do interesting things. Other than that, our problems at the events, one of the things that we've always done, which isn't really about speakers so much, is we've always wanted people to organize their own part of the event, which is why we originally went outdoor. It's because we wanted to get rid of the confines of a building where we would be responsible for what happened to the building, and instead everybody would be able to do their own thing. And this has developed over the years. Part of what the hacker community has become, these villages, the sort of atmosphere where you bring stuff to show to other people, that's much more possible in a setting like this, or in a very big building like Hope, than it would be in your typical conference atmosphere. And I think it's very important to stress that hackers like to organize stuff, and hackers, we've tried to get rid of the distinction between us and them, us the organizers versus them the visitors, as much as we could. This wasn't so much a conscious decision as a consequence of the fact that we were really lousy organizers. So people basically had to run up and help us out because we hadn't thought of getting rid of all the garbage. We hadn't realized that, I mean, the first event we did was for 300 people, 250 to 300 people, and then 700 or 800 people showed up, which is a trend in these hacker events, is that they get bigger than you think. And so we had no clue what was going to happen, and we never realized that 700 people generate 700 times individual amount of trash. Stuff like this causes other people to run up and say, I can do this, I can organize that. And that's something that we ended up fostering. And I realized later that that's what saved this community from going down the track of us, the organizers, you, the visitors that just come and you just have to do what we say, and otherwise our security goons will push you around. And it became this sort of gigantic us thing. The trouble with that is determining who gets a free T-shirt and who gets free entry. Because at some point, everybody's working their ass off. Like, you have an army of 500 people that came a week early, and you have an army of people that all feel they deserve the T-shirt, and you only have 100 T-shirts, that all feel they don't need to pay entrance. So at some point, this was 2001, we said, this is not working anymore. Everybody pays entrance, and we made it a rule that even the central organization, I paid entrance, everybody paid entrance. And everybody paid for their T-shirt, and everybody... So we got rid of sort of the organizational perks, because they were in the way. They were creating the us and them. We were basically creating a whole us and them structure for 2 stupid boxes worth of T-shirts, which to us just wasn't worth it. Yeah. So really I think that's a strong aspect of these events.
Don't underestimate how much...
A recurring trend is T-shirts.
Don't underestimate how much people are willing to help. The first year that we organized our conference, there was no crew involved, and we did it all ourselves as a committee, and we realized there's way too much work for 6 or 7 people to do themselves. So if someone wants to help out, let them. Don't micromanage it to yourself. This is how I got involved in FrostCon. I was a helper at FrostCon.
We got an email from a guy from the Ireland who wanted to help out at our conference. So we had some room left in the hotel we rented, so we gave it to him because he was a helper with the longest trip. So we didn't know then that he just came from the Netherlands at this time. But FrostCon wouldn't be possible without a load of volunteers. And one of the greatest ideas we had was putting them into T-shirts.